am I not live? All right, and we are live. This is Last Minute History. I'm Cole Clayton, and with me I have Atlas Novak. How you been, man?
I've been pretty good. I, as a English teacher, am about to finish out my first year of teaching. If you want to hear more about that, the Generation Dan coming out this Friday will be covering all that. So excited. But in the meantime, you're the one taking the lead this week. So
I am. So with that said, we're covering Texas history. Real quick in there.
What the hell was that?
That's the UT college, Texas.
Oh, like you were just showing the background. I was like,
I got showing our background.
From the street.
Yeah,
hook 'em horns. Yeah.
The best college there ever was.
I mean, that's what they say on Friday Night Lights or something, right?
I don't know. I didn't watch it, if I'm honest.
I don't know. Katie watches it from time to time. It's not really my cup of tea, but
okay. So before we get into the history thing, Texas eats, breathes, and lives football. Is that big in California too?
No.
It's pretty big. California's a pretty big football state as well, huh?
Not really. We're more of a baseball or a basketball state.
Well, yeah, the Lakers. That makes sense.
Well, the Lakers, the Clippers, or like the Giants, the Dodgers, all that stuff, where you have a lot of football kind of disappeared for a few decades, where the Rams left from LA to St. Louis for 30 plus years.
Right.
And the Chargers weren't really much of a team where it mattered.
Right.
So
y'all produced Tom Brady. I mean, that's got to count for something.
I guess so. I mean, that's not to say we don't have football fans, but it's just the culture of football isn't as strong here as baseball or basketball is, I think.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and part of the reason you bring that up, I'm guessing, is because last episode we talked about the gold rush in California, because I'm from California, you're from Texas, so it's your turn.
Exactly. Yeah. I was just curious, if I'm honest. Yeah. So Texas is a big football state. I'm not really going to cover that, but I am going to cover how Texas became Texas, and how Texas became how it is, if that makes any sense. The almost the attitude part.
The attitude?
Yeah, if you know what I mean. Well, because it's weird too, because Texas is considered the friendly state. That's their slogan, is the friendly state.
Well, I thought it was the Lone Star State, or
right. That's not a thing. That's just
what does that mean? Is it just because of the flag?
That's
or
the original how every Texas has, or every state has its own slogan. Tennessee is agriculture and commerce. I don't know all the other ones, if I'm honest, but yeah, Texas is the friendly state. You think it's don't mess with Texas.
Yeah,
the Lone Star State. Come and take it. None of those things. It's the friendly state, which was it? Ronnie Chang did a whole bit on it about how that doesn't explain or describe anything about Texas. Because you don't think friendly people when you think of Texas.
Yeah, California's is Eureka, which makes sense.
Well, isn't that New York?
New York is, sorry, I'm on the Wikipedia page for it now. New York is ever upward, Excelsior.
Excelsior, gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
Which is the nerdiest fucking slogan you can have. Excelsior.
Eureka and California is just the New York wannabe. That's what that is. That's what I found. California is so bad wants to be New York.
We sort of do. I mean, the only thing we have above New York is the movie stuff. We make the movies here. That's about it.
I mean, they have a pretty good movie industry in New York too. It was more television, but it's the same. They're like big brother and sister almost. They're like,
Yeah.
if that makes any sense. Maybe
Definitely.
big brother, little brother. But anyway, we're not even talking about. Well, I'm getting off topic already. So Texas, how it came to be was the first European to see Texas was Alonso Alvarez de Pineda. I don't
Pineda,
quite
I'm
know.
guessing. It's Spanish.
Yeah, Pineda. I don't know if I'm quite pronouncing that correctly. He was sent by the governor of Jamaica to explore it, that area, area of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure Jamaica was under French rule at the time in 1520, roughly. So the early 1500s, shortly after Columbus had gotten there. Not shortly, but like maybe 2 decades after Columbus.
Yeah, so like 1520, that's around the time Magellan is doing his thing, his like little circumnavigating the globe.
I know very little about Magellan. I did not get taught that in school, and I didn't ever look into it either.
Most of it is just like, oh, his crew circumnavigated the world, and like not much else is what I learned.
Right, because he said he ended up in Japan at one point too, right? When we talked about that.
Not him in particular, just the Portuguese were allowed to trade with Japan.
Gotcha.
So yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. Do you know anything about Alonso Alvarez de Pineda?
Freaking nothing. I got nothing.
I never heard of him either, if I'm honest. even from my, I found this out while I was snooping around yesterday looking at Texas history. While searching for a passage between the Gulf of Mexico and Asia, Alvarez de Pineda created the first map of the northern Gulf Coast.
Okay.
Which is mightily important because without that map, I don't think our economy does very well today because there's a lot of oil out there. There's a lot of shrimp out there, a lot of fish.
There's a lot of shrimp out there.
There is. There's like a lot of people don't realize this, but I'm totally gonna make up this number, but it is a large percentage. It's over half of America's shrimp comes from the Gulf of Mexico.
Really?
Yeah.
Good Lord, that's a lot.
It is a lot. There's but yeah, well, I mean, you've seen Forrest Gump and all that. That's Gulf of Mexico and everything.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, Bubba Gump and all that, which is a real company, by the way.
Yeah.
But so yeah, without the map of the Gulf of Mexico, we probably be fucked right now. Like our economy would not stay, especially in that region where you have like eventually the Louisiana Purchase and Alabama, Florida, and everything like that. Yeah. So that area wouldn't be as developed without that map. This map is the earliest recorded document of Texas history. So that's as far back as the history of Texas goes. Sometime between 1528 and 1535, 4 survivors of Navarro's expedition, including Alvarez Nunez, Cabeza de Vaca, and Estevanico, spent 6.5 years in Texas as slaves and traders among various native groups. Cabeza de Vaca was the first European to explore the interior of Texas.
Okay.
So those guys actually ended up in Texas as slaves, and I believe there was some kind of mutiny on like a ship, maybe a pirate ship, and ended up becoming traders over time, over the course of several years, and then just became like super badass people. Like, what better story is that? I want to see this movie out of these guys. You know what I mean?
I'm surprised that there hasn't been some sort of like, you have lots of celebrities and stuff from Texas. Your Matthew McConaughey's and whatnot. I'm surprised that none of them have like tried to make that sort of movie.
Matthew McConaughey does try to do stuff, but like everybody kind of looks at him like he's a crazy person. And then the only other guy who is super like about Texas history and whatnot, as far as celebrities go, is Woody Harrelson, and he's like he really is kind of out of his mind. You know what I mean? So
yeah, but the fun way,
Oh yeah, both of them, but like I don't know, they're just Texas. You know what I mean? Like that's what because well, here we go back to the California stuff. California and Texas have always had this bit of a rivalry. I don't know if you know that.
Yes, I know. Well, that's kind of what makes this interesting is we have the two like sets of history with each other, and it's like, how far up my own ass can I get with my own history? Because Californian history, a lot of the up its own assness was like economic, right? Where it's like,
right.
These not the conquistadors, but the missionaries made these missions and converted people to Christianity, and like, oh, look at the buildings, adobe bricks, which we'll do an episode on California missions at some point. Comment below if you want to see
I'm
that.
Interested.
But like there's that, and then like the gold rush, which that's the most economically good or economically successful thing that you can even think of. And then with Texas, it seems like the history that you guys are obsessed with, it's like domination almost. Like this is
we'll get to that.
This. Yeah,
we'll actually get to that because that is a big part of my presentation. Actually, more towards the war with Mexico as we get there. Yeah. But there's a reason why Texans are the way they are. Mm-hmm. As far as like demeanor and whatnot. Yeah, Zaragoza, pronounced Tejas. See, again, you think, but no. That's how the Mexicans pronounced it when it was a Mexican land. But we'll get to that. In 1543, the Hernando de Soto expedition entered Texas from the east, becoming the first European to visit the Caddo peoples, which was a very small indigenous group that didn't last much longer than that. We still pronounce it Zaragoza. Are you a Hispanic? Is that what I'm understanding?
Zaru follows me from show to show, and I don't really know. I think they're.
Ain't nothing wrong with it. He'll explain. Yes, he is Hispanic.
Okay,
all right. So first off, I don't want to nationalize you necessarily, or whatever the term is that we're using now. So, like, where are you? Where is your ethnicity or origin?
I don't know if that would have made it better necessarily.
I'm just interested. I don't want to. It's a big thing. It's also a stereotype for Texans to call everybody south of them Mexican.
Really?
And I mean, I've done it. Like, oh, they're Mexican. That's a Mexican, and he's like Brazilian or whatever. Not even Haitian. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't like doing it, but it's just a thing that Texans do. Like, it's vaguely racist. So. Mexico. So you are legitimately Mexican. Got it.
Yeah.
If you want more specific, Mexico and Guatemalan, Zapotec and Mam origins. I don't know what any of that is.
He tried.
I did.
Credit where it's due. He tried.
So they entered Texas from the east, becoming the first Europeans to visit the Caddo people, searching for an overland path to Mexico. The expedition turned back to the Mississippi River and leaving Caddo territory and finding nomadic tribes without food to sustain the Spanish. This is where it gets kind of weird because this is actually French-owned land.
Right, because they have that part of the continent.
Right.
Okay.
So this is where we're going to kind of get into the French colonization when the French start to realize the Spanish are doing shit. So although Alvarez de Pineda had claimed the area that is now Texas for Spain, the area was essentially ignored over 160 years. So the Spain had it, but they weren't they were just kind of leaving it being. This is where kind of feudalism kind of takes over.
Right.
Its initial settlement by Europeans occurred by accident. In April 1682, French nobleman René Robert Cavalier Sieur de La Salle had claimed the entire Mississippi River Valley for France. So this is already pre-claimed territory, by the way.
Mhm.
The following year, he convinced King Louis the 14th, to establish a colony near the Mississippi, essentially splitting Spanish Florida from New Spain.
Okay. Right. Like, okay, I have a little bit of Florida history in me just because my dad's from Miami.
Yeah, your dad's from
And
Florida, right?
yeah, so he told me a lot of that. And then also when I was a kid, you had to do like a state report. So like pick a state, do a, what's the biggest export? When was it discovered? All that stuff. And I got Florida. And then I remember getting in a fight with Catherine Shaw, whose dad was from Iowa. So Catherine, if you're out there and you're listening to this, I'm sorry. Because I think it almost came to blows at one point. I don't know. We were 10. It's like that prepubescent, like anger that you just get toward the opposite sex. Like, ew, girls.
So Zaragoza says Hispanics, Brazilian. Oh, they are not Hispanics. Now that's I have a funny story about that. Okay, so freshman year, I had a Brazilian foreign exchange student in one of my classes. I can't remember which one. And I did not know that they spoke Portuguese.
Mm-hmm.
So I was asking him to teach me Spanish, and he like looked at me. He was like, in his broken English, he was like, "I don't speak Spanish." And I'm like, "What do you speak? Brazilian?" Like,
well, do you know why that is? Or like that part of the world, it's like just Brazil mostly that speaks Portuguese, and the rest of the
yeah,
country.
it's just Brazil. I don't think there's another country in South America that speaks Portuguese.
Well, it's because like I think sometime in it's either the 15 or 1600s, Spain and Portugal got together with the Pope, and the Pope was like, "All right, here's a line down the world. This side is Spain's, this side is Portugal's. Go." And that's it. So like the line goes down the edge of Brazil, and that's why Brazil speaks Portuguese and the rest of South America
We
speaks
just need to cover Portuguese history at some point because I don't know a whole lot about it. I heard that they had an empire at one point, and I'm like, when?
Empire of Brazil? I would be happy to cover that. I love the comment below this. Ellos no hablan español en Brazil, hablan Portuguese.
Ellos no hablan español en Brazil, hablan. I can't decipher if that's Spanish.
They don't speak Portuguese in Brazil. They don't speak Spanish and Portuguese. In Brazil, they speak Portuguese. Blah.
Right.
That's what they're saying there.
And that's what I guess I wouldn't call him a friend because he was not happy about my mistake. But
he's like, he hates me.
Yeah, like I was the asshole. And because like I don't even think I made it better because I was like, what's Portuguese? Like, because I had never heard of Portugal to that point. I found out about Portugal from the Brazilian kid, which is funny because he's not even Portuguese either. You know what I mean? Like I found out about a whole nother country. That's like somebody, an American going to like anywhere in the world, and then he has to teach people about the UK. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, well, okay, so Portuguese, French, Spanish, and Italian all have their roots in Latin.
Yeah, Latin, Greek, and all that.
Like, if you speak one language, like you're not going to be perfect, but like you can fumble your way through the other one. Like for example, every year at the school I teach at, they do like a Euro trip, and this year they did Italy. They went to Florence, and a bunch of the kids, speak Spanish, and they said I was able to like get by with my Spanish to like get through it, the Italian signs and stuff. You could get like the gist.
So even French is kind of like close. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't realize that French and Spanish and Italian and all those like southwestern European countries, they're all rooted in Latin. So
yeah. Portuguese people tend to know Spanish as well, referring to people from Portugal. Yeah, that makes sense. They're next door neighbors, then again, that's not really the case in the U.S. where you have, or at least for the white people.
Texans do pick up on a little bit of Spanish if you're like not like, I guess, a posh person. I don't know what else to call that, but like, because that's a British term. But like, if you're not like uppity, if you work with your hands a lot, you're gonna end up running into a lot of Hispanics, and you're gonna need to know how to get back and forth, break your Spanish down, and they're gonna break their English down. You know what I mean? It's gonna be back and forth.
Yeah.
I probably don't know as much now because I haven't used it as much. But at one time, I knew enough Spanish to probably survive in Mexico if I really needed to.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Next door neighbors, but also because Portugal is not not as affluent, and a lot of Spanish media also comes to Portugal. Okay,
that makes sense. Yeah. And Zaragoza, that is not American education at its finest. That's Texas education at its finest. We are ranked, or at least when I was in school, I don't know what it's ranked now, but when I was in school, out of the 50 states, we were ranked 48th.
Are you serious?
In education. So I'm in Ohio now, where it's ranked 16th. Not
better.
The greatest, but miles and miles beyond that, you know? So my son is getting a much better education than I am.
Okay, well, luckily for you, they're 43rd now, so they've
jumped. Okay, good for them. Well, it's probably all the Californians moving there.
Yeah.
Like, God, we need to do something here.
Okay, wait. So there's education quality. It's 43rd. Education ranking, which I think is what you were doing, 39th. Texas.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Way better they're getting a better education than I was.
And
jumped almost 10 spots.
And just because I have to, I'm looking up California's.
It's gotta be top 10 easily.
Four,
top 5.
Yeah, for that's for higher education. I want just high school, you know.
Higher education. Yeah, I was thinking grade school and everything.
Okay, here, U.S. News. That'll be good. Okay, so really, Florida is number 1? That doesn't make any sense. I don't believe that. That's.
I find that very hard to believe.
Where are we?
I almost don't want to put a red state in the top 5. You know what I mean? Like, just on my own, personal beliefs of Republicans and their education.
Okay, so for pre-K to 12 for Florida, it's 10, but number 1 for higher education.
Even 10 seems high for Florida.
Oh, so it's an average. That's why it works out that way. That kind of makes sense. California is 37 pre-K to 12, but 6 in higher education.
Y'all are 37? Y'all aren't that much higher than Texas then?
No, we're not.
Oh, we catching you, bro. We're gonna lap you.
Maybe.
That's legitimately that's just gotta be all the I want to call it the Great California Migration, almost, because there's so many of your people moving to where I used to live.
Yeah, so, like Texas, or like a bunch are going to
Colorado too, huh?
Colorado, yeah. Colorado makes
Portland as well.
Yeah, like
Oregon, I should say.
My friend Dan, who was at my wedding, who you could have met, is he lives in Oregon now, so that anecdotally makes sense. But like Texas and catching up to California is the same way I feel when Dino tells me he's about to be my weight.
Dude, him and I are the same pants size now. I was watching his show earlier, and he said he's a 38. I'm a 38.
In waist?
Yeah. Like, now he's shit. And then you know who else is a 38? Kyle. We're all 38s.
Okay. But the leg is different, right?
Yeah. In waist. But that's what I was trying to explain too in the comments. I was like, dude, you could be 5'5" to 7 foot tall, and you could be from like 150 pounds to 300 pounds. Every grown man is about a 38. That's just like the one size fits all kind of. As long as you're not like a beanpole or a fucking like giant fat ass, you know what I mean? Like everybody kind of fits in 38.
The belt does most of the work there,
right?
Yeah. Because it's like all you care about is like, am I at the same belt notch than I was however many years before.
Oh, I'm not. I was like a 32 as an 18, so I've definitely jumped.
No, I was 36 up until about 5 years ago. So
that sucks, man.
Anyway, we're getting super off
when
track,
you lose that notch. Yeah. Anyway. So Zaragoza, Delaware is usually placed on the midpoint. Hell yeah. You can't hate average, you know? It means you can talk to anybody for the most part. I'm gonna see a few Texans in Delaware too.
Well, there's like your state is so fucking gigantic. It's like second to Alaska or something.
Yeah, it's the second biggest state.
Yeah.
As far as size, sheer like.
No, but just like the amount of people in that size means that like they're kind of everywhere.
I don't know the population. Honestly, I don't really know the population of any state.
One thing I will give like Texans as like you guys win with this is the word y'all. Like it's just good. Like it is
I love it, right? I can't stop saying it.
It's a gender neutral way to refer to a bunch of people at once. And not so much like me trying to be like, oh, misgendering people. No, just like I used to date somebody who was a campus tour guide, and they made a big deal about like, don't say guys, because it's like, what if there's women in that crowd? And I'm like, okay, it's not about. Oh, never mind. Anyway, the point is like that.
I dated a girl from Chicago. And her family, they had migrated from Chicago to Texas, and their whole family made fun of everybody because I think that's just a Chicago thing about the usage of y'all. They're like y'all. Anytime somebody said y'all. I'm just like, we're not gonna stop saying it. Like, it's the greatest thing ever. It's a compound word, you know, to explain you all. And I like there's a y'all-div, which I don't know how many apostrophes that has, but that y'all would have.
Yeah, so Y''ALL apostrophe DVE.
Y'all.
Div.
It's Y apostrophe ALL apostrophe D apostrophe VE. It's like I said, it's like 3 apostrophes. Y'all div. Y'all would have. Y'all div. Y'all have almost shot your faces off with them damn guns back there. Y'all don't even know how to do whatever. Y'all do yonder and all that shit. Mm-hmm. Y'all are everywhere. Yeah, Texas people get around. I mean, I live in Cleveland, Ohio now. I see anywhere I've been, I've driven all over the East Coast, and you just see Texas everywhere you go. It don't matter. I don't know if y'all see them a lot in California, but I know East Coast, you see them everywhere.
No, you got a lot of Texas people out here in California. Like the fact that we were both owned by Spain means that like just the idea of being in each other's space is pretty straightforward. Now, by the opposite token, we hate each other, but it's more of like
it's a different like for whatever reason we have like. I know, like I said, when I was mentioning earlier that like California and New York are like bigger little brother and bigger brother. It's like Texas and California are like exes.
You know what I mean? Like, no, like literally, yes. Like we used to be Spain. Now we hate each other. I think it's because California has the cultural dominance,
right?
But Texas wants it.
Texas kind of does. Yeah. Texas so badly. They won't admit it, but they so badly want to be California. At least like the vibe wise, you know.
Yeah.
At
least you guys got Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's is pretty dope.
Buc-ee's is dope, right? Yeah. We're not gonna cover that. That wasn't in my research. But I know the owner. I ran into him. He was actually I gave him a lift while he was up here in Cleveland, scouting out places to put a Buc-ee's, as a matter of fact.
Neat.
Yeah. So LaSalle's colonization expedition left France on July 24th, 1684, and soon lost one of its supply ships to Spanish privateers.
Okay.
Privateers. So the difference between a privateer and a pirate is the privateer was given permission by a government.
Yes. So, privateers are paid for by a government. Pirates are like, fuck you, this is for ourselves.
Whatever. Yeah, right. Yeah. Most privateers were pirates at one point. and were able to negotiate a job,
or vice versa, right? Like,
and vice versa. Well, sometimes they're interchangeable because you at some point you could do a privateer thing, and then you pissed off the government somehow and lose your job, and now you're kind of just hoping you don't get fucking shot down,
Yeah. And how you go from becoming a privateer to a pirate is, what is the one lesson of this podcast? Pay your mercenaries.
Pay your mercenaries. always
pay your mercenaries.
Don't even stop there. Pay your employees.
Yes.
And your contractors.
Yes.
Pay everybody. Pay out, please, for the love of God. If there's any 1%ers watching this, I doubt it.
Nope.
Pay your fucking people. A combination of inaccurate maps, LaSalle's previous miscalculation of the latitude of the mouth of the Mississippi River, and overcorrecting for the Gulf currents led the ships to be unable to find the Mississippi. So France is going to France, is what I have found. No matter where, any time of history, France is going to France. Okay, whenever they always fuck it up. Like I don't understand how this country became such a prominent piece of Europe for such a long time, because France is going to France. So too busy drinking wine and eating cheese. Yeah. I get.
France, good at war, terrible at sailing.
They're not even good at war. When have they ever been good at war? They're really good at revolting.
Well, no, they were good at war up until the 20th century. They were like freaking fantastic at it.
I suppose the 20th century, I guess because Napoleon.
Well, Napoleon.
He wasn't even French. He was Spanish originally. Like he was born Italian. One of them.
He was Corsican, which was like it was like near Italy, and then it was annexed by France like soon after he was born. So like he had he got made fun of in school because he would speak French in an Italian accent, sort of. But yeah, Corsican.
Corsican is not Italian. It's a specific
place Italy
that doesn't exist anymore, or
no, it's still there. It's just.
Is it?
I think it's still part of France, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's like it's a French island near Italy, I guess.
Yes.
Is what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, it's in the south part of France that faces the Mediterranean.
Gotcha. Because when you said Corsican, I was thinking maybe it's its own country or something.
No, I mean it was, but then got
absorbed essentially. Yeah. Zaragoza looks up Buc-ee's, or however it's spelled. It is spelled weird. LL, the nearest Buc-ee's for me is in South Carolina. Oh, they're getting around, man.
Yeah.
When I was in Texas, which I left in 2014, the end of 2014. They were only in Texas. Now they're getting around, like I said. Dino says, "Sup, dorks? We were actually just talking about you and how all of us are 38s, even Atlas. So I told you,
yeah.
it's the one size fits all."
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So they
Corsican
fucked up.
Is an endangered island. I don't know what that means.
He's joking. So messed up with the mapping. Then what happened?
In February, the colonists constructed. In the February after all of this happened, the colonists constructed Fort St. Louis, however the French pronounce it. After the fort was constructed, one of the ships returned to France, and the two others were soon destroyed in storms, stranding the settlers.
Okay.
So these settlers ended up kind of spreading out, and they weren't even settlers. I don't know why it says settlers. They weren't settlers. They were fucking people on ships. What do they call it? Sailors. And so they became settlers out of necessity, and force. So the Spanish learned of the French colony in late 1685. Feeling that the French colony was a threat to Spanish mines and shipping routes, King Carlos II's Council of War recommended the removal of this thorn, which has been thrust into the heart of America. The greater the delay, the greater the difficulty of attainment. Now, that was a direct quote. Having no idea where to find LaSalle, the Spanish launched the 10 expeditions, both land and sea, over the next 3 years. The last expedition discovered a French deserter living in southern Texas with the Calahoudicans. Just another small tribe. The problem was LaSalle was dead while they were looking for him.
Oh shit!
Yeah, he died. He died during one of those storms.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were like looking for him, and then all they found was this like one guy who happened to be like on that ship.
So it wasn't even they came across him. It was just like, oh, Gary, he's dead. Like, yeah, sorry.
Exactly. So yeah, so it that's when this all kind of came to a rearing head because they did all this searching for LaSalle. LaSalle's people started settlements because they were stranded.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Spanish were like looking for LaSalle in his boats or whatever, and now they're kind of driving a wedge here. Now the French and the Spanish both think that they own Texas.
Oh shit.
Like
a sitcom where you write 2 dates to the same dance. It's gonna get hairy.
Yeah. So the Frenchmen guided the Frenchmen settlers guided the Spanish to the French fort in late April 1689. The fort and the 5 crude houses surrounding it were in ruins. Several months before, the Karankawa had become angry that the French had taken their canoes without payment and attacked the settlement, sparing only 4 children.
Jeez.
What have we learned?
Pay your mercenaries.
Pay your people.
Yeah.
Pay your mercenaries.
Yeah.
So essentially the French got fucked up really badly by the Native Americans in this area.
Yeah.
Which kind of left it like ruined the French's plans because they were building towards a war, but the French got eaten alive essentially. Who knows what happened? You know, I don't know if they got scalped or if these were cannibals, but they got fucked up and only left 4 people, 4 children.
Jeez. That is gruesome.
Yeah, so the only settled colonists there were Spanish at that point. So this is when it becomes kind of Spanish Texas. Because the French absolutely fucked it up, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
The news of the destruction of the French fort created instant optimism and quickened religious fervor in Mexico City. Spain had learned a great deal about the geography of Texas during the many expeditions in search for Fort St. Louis and LaSalle. While they were looking for it, they essentially scoped out Texas. They were essentially letting Texas be this giant forest or just a giant jungle and / Native American, hub. They were just like, fuck it, whatever. We don't care. And then the French got there and they're like, we gotta go check this out. Now all of a sudden you want to check, like, that's the only thing I don't fuck with the I don't know, Europeans in general. Because it's like, this is mine, but you weren't touching it. You weren't fucking with it. You were just leaving it there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
no, it's the same. It's the same thing with like the American colonies, right? Where mostly they were just left to their own devices, and then after the 7 Years' War, George is like, "Hey, can you pay me some money?
Yeah, we're gonna tax you because I like my people, and they're too close. And if I tax them, they might eat me."
Yeah, I mean, like with that, like honestly, if George would have just let some representatives be in Parliament, I feel like we wouldn't have had the American Revolution because it started with no taxation without representation. I feel like that's a reasonable request. No,
100%. Yeah. Or like that, we'd still be like Canada, just like bowing to the Queen had.
Yeah.
They given us exactly what we should have gotten in the first place, Mm-hmm. So,
big hub.
Yeah, it's a big hub.
The Brothers of the Traveling 38. I just saw Dino's comment. Oh my God, we're the Brotherhood of the Traveling 38s. And then he said, my comment was hilarious and I feel shunned. Well, that's pretty funny.
We just haven't even seen it yet. My bad. So, funny, some of this stuff is just like. Okay, so here we go.
Are you just trying to find like a moment to...
Yeah, so here I'm good. So in March 1690, so we're definitely about 150 years kind of past where we started.
Yeah.
Alonso de Leon, I wonder if he's related to Ponce, led an expedition to establish a mission in East Texas. Now, why that's interesting is if you go to East Texas, you would have no idea that there's Spanish influence there. These
what
are
is it like now?
These are some hen yonders and motherfuckers. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Like just.
Oh, because it's like, what's the state next to you? Louisiana?
Louisiana, yeah, and it's all swamplands. Oh, okay. The biggest export resource in East Texas is pine trees and alligators. And that tells you what kind of people those are. You know what I mean? Yeah, just like my grandfather grew up in East Texas, and his name was GE. That's his name. It's just not. It's just GE. There was on his birth certificate is GE.
It's not a nickname. It's just
no.
GE.
It's his name.
Huh.
That's East Texas for you.
I guess that makes sense.
It's like what I imagine San Diego is for Californians. It's like the part of Texas that even Texans are like,
no.
I don't know about that area.
It's not San Diego. It's the part of California above Sacramento, because you have the Bay Area.
What's above Sacramento?
Okay, so like the major stuff that goes on, San Diego, LA, the Central Valley, that's where you get like Silicon Valley and all that stuff. San Luis Obispo, things like that, where all the like wine,
San Fran, and Oakland.
And then you get the Bay Area, then Sacramento, the capital, and then everything between Sacramento and Oregon might as well be Oregon. Like there's nothing going.
Yeah, it's the tree people, right? Like, yeah. That's what we refer to the East Texas, the tree people.
Yeah, it's the chicks from that movie Without a Paddle who like shit in bags and were throwing them at people.
Deadass. Yeah, so East Texas is just Texas on steroids. Okay. So like that's all there. We don't even people from regular Texas are like, I don't know about them people over there. So Mission San Francisco de los Tejas, because that's how it's spelled here, was completed near the Hassini village of Nabadachis in late May, and its first mass was celebrated on June 1st.
Okay.
Of 1690. So on January 23rd, 1691, Spain appointed the first governor of Texas, General Domingo Terán de los Rios. That's where Los Rios comes from.
Now, was he Grande or
Grande? What do you mean?
Rio Grande, the river, like.
You're hilarious.
Okay, sorry.
I don't know where the Rio Grande comes from, and I didn't find nothing about it either. I think that's a Mexican thing. That Rio Grande is the one that separates Mexico from Texas, I believe, right?
Yes. And joke that I'm making is that like that might be where the river's name comes from.
Rio, Los Rios. Yeah. Well, Rio just means river. So.
Oh. Okay, that makes sense. I was overthinking.
I was like lost for a second. I was like, what?
Yeah.
On his visit to Mission San Francisco in August, he discovered that the priests had established a second mission nearby, but were having little luck converting the natives to Christianity. The Indians regularly stole the mission cattle and horses and showed little respect for the priests. Which, like, more power to him, man. Because, like, as an atheist, that's fucking awesome. It's like, fuck your goddamn, like, when Turan left Texas later that year, most of the missionaries chose to return with him, leaving only 3 religious people and 9 soldiers at the mission. The group also left behind a smallpox epidemic. Yeah, as they go.
Like you do.
Right. The angry Caddo threatened the remaining Spaniards, who soon abandoned the fledgling missions and returned to Calahua. For the next 20 years, Spain again ignored Texas. The Spanish were like, fuck these people, man.
Dude, it's hot. It's muggy. There's cicadas everywhere. Fuck all this.
Yeah. Oh, there's rattlesnakes, dude. That's like, I don't know that Europe has snakes like Texas does.
I don't think so. Not to that extent. I mean, like,
and spiders. I don't know if y'all got these in like South California, but they got spiders the size of my hand, dude. Like,
no, we got little ones out here. I mean, like,
scorpion, big ass scorpions, like they're big, bro.
We got scorpions, but they're little.
We got fucking mosquitoes this big sometimes, and like the more wetter areas.
Yeah, you got to be like up near Central California, but we get mosquitoes like that.
It's not a cool place. I was so happy to leave. Like, if I'm honest, like everything's trying to kill you. It's like, to me, it's like America's Australia.
That's exactly what was popping in my head. I was like,
yeah, they're just like, Australia is just British Texans. That's all they are. After a failed attempt to convince Spanish authorities to reestablish missions in Texas in 1711, Franciscan missionary Francisco Hidalgo approached the French governor of Louisiana for help.
Okay.
The French governor sent representatives to, I guess the France and Spain were kind of chill now at this point. I guess that probably something else going on there.
You have like a weird like love triangle, or like war triangle between, like, it would be France, the UK, and Spain teaming up with the other one to fight the third one.
Right.
Like, just over and over and over again for about 500 years.
And you see a little bit of that in Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, I think on Stranger Tides, they kind of focus on that a little bit, which I thought was really cool. Because I think that's around that time too.
Yeah. You know what? My favorite thing about Pirates of the Caribbean is that the worst villain isn't Davy Jones, the embodiment of like the ocean. It's the guy who runs the East India Company. Like, hey, there's a guy with an octopus for a face, but you know what's worse than that? Capitalism. Like,
the British.
Yeah.
The redcoats.
Yeah.
In 1716, 4 missions and a presidio were established in East Texas. Accompanying the soldiers were the first recorded female settlers in Spanish Texas.
Okay. So maybe you had something similar to like what we heard in the California episode, where like it was such a sausage fest that you like, you know, people got to cook and clean, and like, we don't have time for gender roles out here. There's fucking scorpions, you know.
That's had to have really been a thing everywhere. Like, plus this is like 150 years before the gold rush, so I can't imagine there was a lot of women being like, yeah, let's just fucking go, man. This is all men doing man shit. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we're gonna go to the nowhere land and just like explore. We were like, why? We have everything we need here. There's tea. There's fucking, like, I don't know, like, we got food. Why like, that's just man shit. Just
it is
attack the fucking. Let's go attack the fucking savage people who are trying to hurt us all the time, and the weird fucking buffalo. Like, why? You know what
I would have loved to have see Twitter during the Explore Age, where it's just like, are men okay? And then it's just all the stuff about settling places.
What a great sketch idea, Atlas.
Yeah.
We gotta work on that. Twitter during different eras
Yeah.
of time.
Yeah. First missions, women showing up. That was the last thing.
So yeah, I'm just kind of now they're just talking about like how the Comanche kind of I don't know, we haven't really covered the Comanche, but they were one of the like most successful Native American tribes to fight off white people in general, just all the European settlers. And like that's kind of what's going on here in this next like passage. And that's just Comanche kind of just defending most of like upper west and the panhandle of Texas. They just kept everybody out of that area for such a long time. And I cannot emphasize I'm part Comanche. But those people did not care, dude. And it was like they eventually developed to using guns and like they studied European like war tactics and things like that. They were the most willing to adapt and evolve as far as Native American tribes became, and they did a very good job. They're like most of, I want to say, western, like upper western, northern western Texas, all the way through Colorado and Nevada. I think Oklahoma as well. All of that area, they were able to defend off the Europeans and the Mexicans and everybody. So
you have something kind of similar to like with the samurai, where they were willing to take on new technology as it became available.
Right. So it's not like, I don't know, they like want to paint a picture of like how all Native Americans are kind of similar. The Comanche were not. The Comanche were fucking up other Native American tribes long before the Europeans got there. They probably would have taken over the North American continent had the Europeans never came. You know, like they were very successful. They studied people, they watched people. They were their biggest, their most what I don't know how to like word this. The most important thing that they used to their advantage was like scouting, watching and paying attention and watching people's habits and like where they were going and where they were coming and just all kinds of different, how they moved and stuff. It was crazy. They were so crazy. So yeah,
that guy Gary from the Iroquois is on the move. Let's get him.
Yeah. They watch people's they watch people's habits. Like they were like they watched people's trade routes and they knew how to like circumvent that and like cut them off and blockades and everything.
And really, for people saying, "Oh, it's racist to call Native American Gary," that's the placeholder name for literally every person in these. So you're going to hear Gary a lot on this show. Sorry.
The mention of the DuPonts, we could do a Delaware episode and invite me as a guest. I'm down.
I keep trying to get so like one of the history teachers in my school, she's from Chicago. And when we were doing the California episode, I was like, did you have like a thing that they make, like something Illinois or Chicago related that they cram down your throat in 5th grade? And she's like, yeah, Al Capone. I'm like, that is so much cooler than what we got.
Oh yeah, right?
Yeah. So I'm trying to get her to come on and talk to us about like that stuff, you know?
We definitely should try to have more guests on who talk about like where they're specifically from.
Yeah.
Like, so we can get the full picture of everything and everyone.
Also, she's getting married, so that's part of it, where she's like, all right, school ends, aces, I'm out of here getting married. So,
well, you got time.
All well and good. Anyway.
So, yeah, most of the next passage kind of is just talking about how, like, the Comanche just fucked up the Spanish, you know, and it made it really hard for they had already like left, and then they tried to come back, and then they get fucked up by the Comanche, you know, who was like, believe it or not, they were a relatively new tribe, like, like they kind of formed in the 1700s and kind of became a thing throughout the 1800s. So, yeah, like they developed off of the Apache and other various tribes and became one large tribe.
Okay.
So,
damn, we should have just had this be a Comanche episode.
Right. We should talk about the Comanches because that's not just Texas history. They took over. They had Oklahoma. They legitimately had territory that we could not get for the longest time until we started sending like military to deal with them.
Yeah, and then killing bison and things like that.
Right. Yeah, their food supply and everything like that. But for the longest time, it was really hard to just deal with them as regular people.
Right.
And what like that? I noticed that I don't understand like why you wanted that land from them anyway when they were so like determined to keep it. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. This is how Europeans work.
Europeans, they're dicks.
Yeah, they're dicks, dude. Like leave them alone. Like honestly, if they come in and fucking you up, I get defending yourself. But why are you trying to move into their territory? Leave them alone. You know what I mean? So.
I mean, you learned about Manifest Destiny, right?
No, what is that?
Okay, man. Do you remember there's like a painting of like a woman and she's like godlike and and she's above a plane and there's all the covered wagons going west. It was like a doctrine that we had as a country when we first started, like after the Louisiana Purchase in particular, where it was like, we will take over this continent from the Atlantic to the Pacific. It is ours. We are manifesting our destiny. So that's like where that comes from. The idea of like, this continent is ours. Fuck you. Yeah.
No, I never heard that. That's interesting.
Yeah. I'm gonna look into that painting because like it's in like every history book when you're in like middle school, I think. See where I can find it. Okay, here it is. Keep talking, but I'll send it to you.
So in 1762, France finally relinquished their claim to Texas by ceding. I don't know how they had any claim to Texas. I thought we were done with that. To Texas, ceding all of Louisiana west of the Mississippi River to Spain as part of the treaty to end the 7 Years' War. So yeah, we had something else going on completely. It looked like they ended up having a war and everything. That didn't involve in Texas, I guess. Spain saw no need to continue to maintain settlements near French outposts and ordered the closure of Los Angeles, making San Antonio the new provincial capital. So yes, that's true. The first original capital of Texas was San Antonio. Way the fuck in the middle of nowhere. I don't know if you've ever been in San Antonio, but there's nothing there.
I just know you have like a basketball team with Tim Duncan on it. And like
you got the Spurs. Yeah. You have a bunch of like loading like docks for trucks. Like there's a really big industry for like manufacturers. I guess that's where like the port, like not a port, but like they send everything from Mexico, from everybody's fucking farms in Mexico, send them up to San Antonio, and then they just disperse all across the country. So San Antonio actually is a pretty big hub for the entire U.S. A lot of trucks, semi trucks, come in and out of San Antonio. Other than that, it's just fat people, bro. They got some of the fattest people in the world.
Yeah, and well, this is like like a
Fluffy's
century
from there.
What?
Fluffy's from San Antonio.
Okay.
And he's a normal sized person there.
Yeah.
Or he was. He's small now. Yeah. But yeah. So the residents of Las Ideas were relocated in 1773 after several attempts to settle in parts of the province. The residents returned to East Texas without authorization and founded Nacogdoches. Nacogdoches, again, is so weird. This is East Texas because there's Hispanic or Spanish like influence there, because that's just like the biggest deer hunting space in all of Texas. Like that's where everybody goes. Nacogdoches is where everybody goes to hunt deer. Like there's a lot of deer and there's a lot of like boar. Like that's the only thing out there. There's just cabin, wild pigs. And they fuck you up, bro. They'll fuck your car up. They'll attack your car. They think your car is another animal, and then while driving, and they can catch your car going 60 miles an hour and just fuck your whole shit up, bro.
Jesus.
They're big ass pigs.
Dude, Texas sucks.
Rattlesnakes, spiders the size of your hand, scorpions the size of your forearm, mosquitoes like the size of a fucking like a I don't know like
the
a
size of
golf
your
ball.
palm or something. Yeah.
And then you got pigs the size of people.
Yeah.
Like so like with hooves and horns.
Jesus.
So this is kind of where you know, Mexico and Texas kind of do it's kind of
well, because you're a country for a while, right? Or am I getting ahead of it?
You are getting a little ahead. So this is when everything kind of it's about to start getting real fast, real quick.
Okay.
So it's very, very quickly things just happen. Okay. So in 1821, the Mexican War for Independence severed the control that Spain had exercised on its North American territories, and the new country of Mexico was formed from much of the lands that had compromised New Spain, including Spanish Texas.
Okay.
So now Mexico had went to war with Spain and gained its independence as Cinco de Mayo and all that. I think I could be totally wrong on that, but I'm kind of pretty much what it is.
And then the white people in the U.S. are just like, dude, tacos, and then like that's it.
Badass. So the 1824 Constitution of Mexico joined Texas with Coahuila to form the state of Coahuila y Tejas.
Okay.
So it was originally called Tejas by Mexico.
Okay.
And so for the next few years, that's what it was, Tejas. Mexico became independent on September 16th. Okay, so yeah, I'm wrong, but
Zaru's just better at this than us. It's fine.
Yeah. So what the fuck is Cinco de Mayo?
I think it was just like a battle that was won or something.
I wouldn't doubt it. That's American shit. It was just Cinco de Mayo sounds good. Sounds better than Septembre 16 Day or whatever. 16. Yeah. I don't know what 16. Cinco de Mayo was when Mexico defeated the French. So y'all went to war with both of them? Shit.
Yeah. It was like an underdog battle that they won.
Yeah. So the same year, Mexico enacted the General Colonization Law, which enabled all heads of households, regardless of race or immigrant status, to claim land in Mexico. Why that's important is over in Germany, a lot of revolutions are going on.
1848?
And well, kind of before that, but leading up to that as well.
Yeah.
I want to say the colonization law was in the late 1820s. Okay. But that allowed the Germans to move in there and get land in Texas. Now, Texas has a large German population and German heritage population,
right.
To the point where we have nobody else has this. Kolaches, okay, sounds German, looks German, and all it is just sausage, cheese, and side of some kind of weird bread roll.
Correct.
And a lot of times they put jalapenos in it to make it more Texas, but only Texas has that. And I'm not saying that like we're better than you. I'm saying that like please catch up because I miss them so much. But
yeah.
I can't find them. Like you can find them in states kind of like bordering Texas, but you can't really find it anywhere else in the world. And they're so fucking good, dude. It's so simple. It really is. It's just put fucking cheese and sausage inside of bread.
I mean, even outside of Texas, like the U.S. had like a really, really huge German population that had a large impact on our culture, but it was kind of stemmed by World War I in particular, where when we finally decided to join, you had this big wave of racism towards German people. So you had German people kind of like assimilating more in the US, and especially with World War II, like knock that shit off. Like no more like German was the second most spoken language in the US up until 1946. Yeah.
Oh shit.
So definitely there's like not a star, but just like a handprint of German culture in the United States that's really gone away because of the Nazis, really. Where like you can't really express your Germanness without people assuming you're a Nazi.
So just like anything, when people come over here, we're like, shut up Italian, shut up Jews, like just anytime people come over here, we're just told to
speak English, blah blah blah, whatever the thing is,
except for the British of all people, you know what I mean? The one
kind of ironic, isn't it?
We get to be English all we want, but so yeah, that allowed a lot of there was other people that immigrated there, but it allowed specifically because you had a lot of a lot of shit going on in Germany leading up to like you said 1848. A lot of people were defecting from Germany and ended up in Texas, Mexico. Texas occupied Mexico, or Tejas, or whatever you want to call it at the time.
Yeah,
kind of before Texas was his thing. The German settlement in Mexico goes back to the times they settled Texas when it was under Spanish rule, but the first permanent settlement of Germans was at Industry in Austin County, established by Friedrich Ernst and Charles Fortran in the early 1830s, then under Mexican rule. So,
okay.
But yeah, so I really wanted to talk about that because that's my favorite part about Texas, the fucking kolaches, and you can get them at Buc-ee's too. So the first impresarial grant had been made under Spanish control to Moses Austin. That's important because the grant was passed on to his son, Stephen F. Austin, whose settlers, known as the Old 300, settled along the Brazos River in 1822. Now, Stephen F. Austin is known as the father of Texas.
Oh.
He's who Austin is named after, the capital of Texas. He's just the guy, man. He's just the fucking guy. He's kind of like the money in the foundation. He's kind of like the Thomas Jefferson of Texas, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So kind of the money, the philosophy, everything kind of was started with Stephen F. Austin.
Okay, so California doesn't really quite have somebody that looms that large, like a Stephen Austin or like a Brigham Young in Utah, where you just have this this influence that reaches through the entire state. Despite California being that big, I'm not really sure why.
Well, but California had its whole different. California's existence comes from the fact that you guys had so much gold and people were just moving there really fast. You know what I mean? So
fuck yeah, gold.
yeah. So it's a different history altogether.
Yeah, movies don't really start being a thing until about 70 years after the gold rush.
I think that's why now California has become more politically charged in the last few decades. I feel like kind of more with Arnold Schwarzenegger became governor, and then kind of really.
California was really conservative, even in.
Well, right, yeah, they were conservative, but I wouldn't even call them as nearly as conservative as Texas. I feel like Texas has always been rooted in politics.
Yeah,
that's what Stephen F. Austin all the way to now. Texas has always been in your face about politics. Yeah. You know what I mean? Where California's only recently gotten like that.
Maybe on the not world stage, but the country's zeitgeist. Maybe since the 60s or the 70s, I think, is really where we start.
I can see that because you had segregation and everything, and then movies were getting involved in talking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so.
But yeah, you're right.
Texas German still exists. I know.
He's probably one of them based on the facial hair.
I think I probably am. I wouldn't doubt it. I don't really know my dad's side of the family.
Okay.
So, and plus he's adopted as well, from what I understand. So it's even harder to track that down. And we don't talk. So, but yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. And like I said, I'm Comanche blood, Irish blood, a little bit of everything. So, talking about heritage wasn't really something we talked about too much. And now that I'm starting to get more interested in it. Like everybody's like dead, like all my grandparents and stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
kind of the same with mine. Although, like, just my parents had me so old, I never really got to know any of my grandparents. So it's all like, you know, game of telephone where. You know, you heard
start reading books and shit.
Like, I didn't know that my dad's side of the family was like pretty left leaning for such a long time. Like, I was going through my grandma's stuff after she died, and there's a letter that she wrote to the Miami Herald during Watergate. So, like, as it's going on, and the letter boils down to her saying, like, everybody shut the fuck up and let the investigation happen. All right, it's not a hoax. They're not going after Nixon. He did some shit. Let them do their job. Like, which is, you know, for the early 1970s in Florida, of all places, that's pretty left leaning.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're in the 1800s, right? Or mid 1800s.
Yeah. So we're about 1830s now. France tried to take over the country, laughing my eyes off. We did a great. We did get a lot of bakery items from them, though.
Probably.
Actually, we should do fucking Mexican history because I know we're kind of skimming that a little bit with Texas.
Yeah.
But I don't know a lot about Mexico, and I would like to know since it's so close to where I'm from.
We should get a guest for that, I think.
I think so too.
Be good.
So like kind of just at that point, there was a lot of dispute on whether or not slavery should be a thing in Texas. And a lot of people don't know this, but like there was only specific regions in Texas that you could have slaves.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, only by 1830, only about 440 slaves were owned in Texas. Because there was like this is now starting to be like where Mexico and Texas are starting to divide a little bit. Because Mexico was kind of like pro-slavery, and Texas was kind of deciding whether they even wanted to be a part of Mexico. Mexican president ordered that all slaves be freed in 1830. To circumvent the law, the colonists converted their slaves into indentured servants. By 1836, there were 5,000 slaves in Texas. This is now where Texas kind of becomes more pro-slave, you know? So, kind of starting to kind of defect towards more southern U.S., you know?
Yeah.
So, this is where now Texas starts getting its kind of like fire under its ass. Bustamante, the president of Mexico, outlawed the immigration of United States citizens to Texas in 1830.
Okay.
So no American could immigrate to Texas, because they knew Texas was starting to become like its own kind of like, I guess, kind of starting to feel the rebellion a little bit.
Right.
In 1832, a group of settlers in East Texas led a revolt against customs enforcement in Anahuac. Do I have a map of Anahuac here? Where Anahuac is?
Anahuac.
No, I do not. I thought I had one. I put some maps on here, but they don't really show that. These Anahuac disturbances coincide with a revolt in Mexico against the current president. Texans sided with the Federalists against the current government, and after the Battle of Nacogdoches, drove all Mexican soldiers out of East Texas. This is where so that wasn't quite like war yet, but there is like defection now. So the vague unrest erupted into armed conflict on October 2nd, 1835. And this is pretty much where war started. As far as Texas is concerned, Mexico didn't really see it that way yet. But at the Battle of Gonzales, when Texas repelled a Mexican attempt to retake a small cannon. So this is kind of where, like, this is a big point that they talk about in Texas history in Texas schools. The big debate is that Mexico had lent a cannon to like Tahitian people, which is what they called Tahitian people, to fight off the Comanches.
Yeah.
So under the condition that, hey, when we want it back, you got to give it back. You know what I mean? So now that the earlier battle had happened that we just talked about, in Anahuac, Mexico was like, you got to give us our cannon back.
And then they're like, we don't want to, and we had a cannon. So
over this dispute of the cannon, that's when war erupted. You know,
right?
Because they wanted their cannon back, but Texas was like, no, like come and take it.
And what did we learn from this? No, it's not even pay your mercenaries. It's don't.
Why would you lend something to somebody like? But to be fair, this was 4 years earlier. They had lit the cannon, and like things were trying to chill. And then that battle happened, and then they were like, "Well, we want our cannon back." And they're like, "Why the fuck would we give you your cannon back? You're gonna use it against us."
I mean, it works pretty
good. But we can use it against you, like you know. So,
seems like they walked right into that one.
Right. So, roughly like 5 months later, on March 2nd, 1836, Texas signed the Texas Declaration of Independence at Washington on the Brazos, effectively creating the Republic of Texas. There's a really quick war, believe it or not. The war only lasted.
The Texas-Mexico War.
The Texas-Mexico Revolution.
Yeah. So you have a bunch of people who would go on to be generals in the Civil War, were in this.
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, like a lot of the generals that end up fighting for the South are like not young bucks, but like they're generals for this.
Right. The commander of the Texas Republic of Texas Army was General Sam Houston. I think it's Sam Houston.
Yep.
Was he in the Civil War? Did he fight in the Civil War?
Yeah, Pickett's charge is in this war. I think Robert E. Lee is in this war. Like a lot of people who would go on to
Robert Lee is from Virginia though.
Oh wait, no. What's the guy? Who's the guy I'm thinking of? It's not Robert E. Lee. It's Winfield Scott. That's the guy.
I actually don't know all these. They didn't really teach us that. They talked about Stephen F. Austin. They talked about Sam Jacinto, Sam Houston. There's a fucking monument for Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah.
And then Santa Anna, who was actually the Mexican president at the time.
I don't really ascribe to the whole big man theory of history where like, oh, everything that happens in history, you could point to one particular person.
Most of the time, how they do it in Texas.
What, big man?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that's how they teach history, at least.
That makes sense. Because like it's easier to get across to people where it's just like, oh, this guy did this thing and blame it on him.
Right, that's never how it works.
Never like that.
You have people, they're understudies who did a thing, you know.
Yeah, or just like because like it's easier to go. George Washington was the commander of the army, but you don't talk about the soldiers. You don't talk about people like Baron von Steuben. You don't talk about Benedict Arnold before he swapped over. Like all that stuff. It's just easier to go. It's George Washington, you know.
Right.
Especially for children, like you're trying to get history across because you're trying to teach them math and English, and social studies is usually like 1 day a week or something, which is stupid. But
yeah, that's why my kid hasn't taken any social studies or history classes yet. Yeah. I'm like, why? He doesn't take science either. I'm like, you guys are
science and social studies really goes by the wayside up until like middle school, I think.
That's stupid.
It's ridiculous. Anyway.
Yeah, this war wasn't very long. I want to say it was less than a year, maybe a couple months. Yeah, as early as October 27, Mexican President Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna had been preparing to quell the unrest in Texas.
2 years, 1846 to 1848. So like about a decade and some change away from the Civil War.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is what's really important is In early 1836, Santa Anna personally led a 6,000-man force towards Texas. His force was large but ill-trained. That is the Battle of the Alamo. Okay, so there was 200 people roughly just kind of chilling at Alamo, and 6,000 people showed up. And although Texas lost the Alamo, they trimmed that army down to about 2,000.
Okay.
So it was detrimental to Mexico, even though we lost. We lost that battle, I want to say we only lost maybe 35 people, but it was getting to the point where they were moving in, so we had to surrender. This is where it gets really fucked up. What's up? What are you asking?
The Alamo like really kind of fits into the or not just the narrative, but like the identity of like being Texan. The whole like, oh, I'm the underdog. I'm the like, you know, you might be the guy in dire straits, but you do what you can. It's kind of like the Charge of the Light Brigade, which like if we ever do the Crimean War, I'll talk about it there. But where it's like we were outmanned, outgunned, and we did what we could. And even though we lost, it was still like a big psychic win in our hearts. You know, remember the Alamo, right?
Remember the Alamo. Yeah, and that actually kind of queued everybody up, because it was actually that's not why we lost that battle, and it wasn't that we lost that battle is why I'm about to get to that, why we say remember the Alamo. Real quick, so you remember the cannon that we had borrowed or whatever earlier?
Yeah.
Well, when they wanted that cannon originally back, somebody wrote in ink on a white flag, "Come and take it." But in the Battle of the Alamo, David Crockett was actually at the Alamo.
There you go. There's another guy that like you can ascribe to that whole.
But somebody had captured a Mexican cannon during the Battle of the Alamo, and turned it around and put a flag on it that said "Come and take it." So that's a big thing, a big slogan in Texas. You'll see shirts that say "Come and take it" because of all the cannons we kept taking from them.
Right, come and take it, and that you can like trace all the way back to like the 300 in you know, the movie 300 and Battle of Thermopylae and all that stuff.
Gerard Butler.
Yeah, so like the big moment apparently in real life was the emissary from the Persian court was like, "Hey, surrender your weapons," and then Leonidas apparently said, "Come and take them." So like that same sort of like.
So it's a Greek thing. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Or a Spartan thing, I guess. Is that
come and take it? Greek? Yeah, come and take it. Come and take them. Just that sort of like double middle finger.
Hell yeah!
You want it? Come get me. You know.
So that's kind of where the "come and take it" and the "you ain't gonna give us this shit, you ain't gonna give us no shit." This is where the attitude came from, you know.
Yeah.
You're gonna tell us what to do. Now this is where the kind of the Alamo. Remember the Alamo comes from is the Galliard massacre. This is kind of what led to Sam Houston saying we're just gonna go all in and fuck up the Mexicans. So the Galliard massacre was an event of the Texas Revolution that occurred on March 27th, 1836, following the Battle of the Alamo. The men surrendered under the belief they would be set free within a few weeks. However, this was not to be. Despite appeals for clemency by General Jose de Urrea, the massacre was carried out by Lieutenant Colonel Jose Nicolas de la Portilla under orders from General and President of Mexico, Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. They literally burned everyone alive. Everyone who was like, David Crockett died at the Battle of the Alamo, actually. But yeah, they burned 200 people alive and left the bodies to rot. Didn't bury them or anything. 3 months later, Sam Houston and his army had found the decaying bodies, and that kind of like put a fire under everybody's ass.
Literally, I'm guessing.
Yeah, which led to the 13-day siege. Santa Anna's forces, overwhelmed by nearly 200 Texian Tahitians defending. They killed. Okay, so yeah, that's the Gallia thing. So, yeah, remember, Santa Anna's forces overwhelmed by the Tahitians after the 13-day siege in San Jacinto. My notes are all fucked up. And they killed the prisoners, and they killed all the prisoners as well, just to get back for the Galliad. Remember the Alamo, remember the Galliad became a battle cry of the Texas Revolution.
Okay.
And shortly after, they captured Santa Anna and became the Republic of Texas.
Okay.
For a grand total of 9 years. We were kind of doing our thing, but we kind of racked up a lot of debts because Mexico kept invading because they didn't recognize us as a true our own country as a defected or independent country. So in order to keep Mexico from continuing to invade, we joined the Union, which is why we say we're a country or we were a country or whatever. We couldn't defend ourselves.
There's like the remember the Alamo stuff, that fighting spirit combined with you were a country for 9 years, and you have that like shitty libertarian edge to you, even almost 200 years later now. Like,
but we always forget that we kept getting invaded by Mexico, and we're like, just Daddy Sam, Uncle Sam, come save us, So like that gets conveniently left out.
I mean, you guys have that, but we got fucking tech bros. So who's worse,
We stole Joe Rogan from you.
That's true. Thanks for that, by the way. Glad to have him gone.
Yeah, and Elon Musk, because I think he lived in California for a while, huh?
That's true. Or I think like the company's still here, but he's in there. I don't know. I don't care. Was there anything more to that, or do you think that was like a good place to stop around the time of the Civil War? Because so
that was Republic of Texas from 36 to 45. There's really not a whole lot that happens other than Mexico invaded like 4 times, and the first 3 times, like we successively stopped them, but we got really fucked up, and like I said, we developed a lot of debts to European nations, and to the point where the U.S. ended up having to pay it off.
Mm-hmm. And then we're like, hey, can we just buy you? Cool. All right.
Yeah, that's what it became. The only thing was, this is another part of our thing is, we only joined the Union on the condition that we can leave whenever we want.
And that's what led to the Civil War. Now, granted, you learn about the Civil War no matter what state you're in, and I just wanted to cover this on this show because, like, Texas, as like from someone outside Texas, we don't really get all that stuff. You get your state thing, and then you get to the Civil War, and that's everybody. So, like, even if your state either wasn't a state yet, Alaska, Hawaii, or wasn't really a big player. So, but everybody kind of had a part to play. Like California joining the Union as the 31st state, as a free state, was like one of the catalysts that led to, the guns being fired at Fort Sumter.
Oh, I think we were the 29th state. Let me look that up.
That makes sense. Because it was like...
What state is Texas? What number is state is Texas?
I don't know. 28 sounds
28
right.
State.
28.
28. There you go. So we joined just before California. Interesting.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't a lot of time left before the Civil War.
Yeah, because Civil War is 1861.
When did the gold rush happen again? Exactly, kind of when did it start? I forgot.
When did what start?
The gold rush, the California gold rush.
Gold was in 1849. So
about 4 years after Texas had joined the
all this is kind of going on at the same time, which I think is interesting. So yeah, I think this is probably a good place to stop. Now, for people who enjoyed this episode, leave a like or a comment or tell your friends, all that good stuff. And tell us what you want us to cover in the future. let us know.
Oh yeah, we need some other states because like this is interesting because like how I said before everything kind of led to World War II. Well, all the American states doing their thing kind of led to I'm sure kind of led to the Civil War because now you have all these states coming together all of a sudden right before the Civil War. That probably led to like everybody's like, whoa,
yeah,
we have all these there's all these people all of a sudden. You know what I mean?
Well, because like slavery kept coming. I don't know. We'll do an episode about that. Anyway, at Generation Dan is the podcast I do with Dino the Genetic Marvel, or Atlas Novak and all the other places. How about you, man?
Yeah, you can check me and Dino the Genetic Marvel tomorrow doing Hammer to Cheese. We are gonna make bacon cheeseburger stuffed jalapenos with mint juleps. So
cool, man.
Yeah, I know, right? On the grill. On the grill.
Oh my god, on the grill, like. So good thing there's not like Hammered and Diarrhea as a show because like that seems like that would happen.
No, it's a Texas thing because you can get drunk and eat spicy foods in Texas. You can't do that in California. You just can't.
Yeah, more or less. All right. Well, till next time, folks.
What we both got is tacos. So peace out. Later.
Horns. See you next time.
All right. Boom. Maybe.